Chapter 117, The Whale Watch. The 4 whales slain that evening had died wide apart, one far to the windward, one less distant to leeward, one ahead, one astern. These last 3 were brought alongside ere nightfall, but the windward one could not be reached till morning, and the boat that had killed it lay by its side all night, and that boat was Ahab's. The waif pole was thrust upright into the dead whale's spout hole, and the lantern hanging from its top cast a troubled, flickering glare upon the black, glossy back, and far out upon the midnight waves, which gently chafed the whale's broad flank, like soft surf upon the beach. Ahab and all his boat's crew seemed asleep but the Parsee, who, crouching in the bow, sat watching the sharks that spectrally played round the whale, and tapped the light cedar planks with their tails. A sound like a moaning in squadrons over the asphaltes of unforgiving ghosts of Gomorrah ran shuddering through the air. Started from his slumbers, Ahab face to face saw the Parsee, and hooped round by the gloom of the night. They seemed the last men in a flooded world. I have dreamed it again, said he. Of the hearses, have I not said, old man, that neither hearse nor coffin can be thine? And who are hearse that die in the sea? But I said, old man, that ere thou couldst die on this voyage, 2 hearses must verily be seen by thee on the sea. The first one not made by mortal hands, and the visible wood of the last one must be grown in America. Aye, aye, a strange sight that, Parsee, a hearse in its plumes floating over the ocean with waves for the pallbearers. Ha! Such a sight we shall not soon see. Believe it or not, thou canst not die till it be seen, old man. And what was that saying about thyself? Though it come to last, I shall go before thee, thy pilot. And when thou art so gone before, if that must ever befall, then ere I can follow, thou must still appear to me, to pilot me still. Was it not so? Well, then, did I believe all ye say, O my pilot? I have here 2 pledges that I shall yet slay Moby Dick and survive it. Take another pledge, old man, said the Parsee, as his eyes lighted up like fireflies in the gloom. Hemp can kill thee. The gallows, ye mean? I am immortal, then, on land and on sea, cried Ahab with a laugh of derision. Immortal on land and on sea. Both were silent again as one man. The gray dawn came, and the slumbering crew arose from the boat's bottom, and ere noon the dead whale was brought to the ship. This is the end of chapter 117. So here we have Fedallah giving some prophecies. And so he says that Ahab will not be in a coffin. He will not be drawn by a hearse when he dies. And so it's like, okay, if I die at sea, I die at sea because, people who die at sea get sewn up in their hammocks and tossed overboard. Except Queequeg, who was going to be put in a coffin and kind of launched like a Viking without the fire. But it says that he will see 2 hearses, and the first will not be made by mortal hands. And the visible wood of the last one must be grown in America. So here they are. They are in the Pacific. And the United States hadn't stretched that far across yet. California wasn't a state then. Texas wasn't even a state then. The Civil War hadn't happened. So, Texas was still part of Mexico at this point. And so the United States kind of stopped at the Mississippi River, or stopped with the Louisiana Purchase. So it was the drainage pool of the Mississippi River. So America had nothing that touched the West Coast. And so that means that a tree grown in America had to come from the East Coast all the long way around to get into the Pacific. So here he is. He is essentially at the farthest place from America he could possibly be on the planet Earth. And he's supposed to see a hearse, or he's supposed to be a hearse made of wood from America. It's like, that's not going to happen here. And the other one must not be made by human hands. It's like, well, how can that possibly be? And then Fedallah says that he's going to die before Ahab. And earlier on, you had Stubb and Starbuck talking, and they're like, Fedallah's old. Fedallah's like millions of years old. Fedallah's like older than time. And how is he going to die before Ahab? And Fedallah says, I'm going to die before you, and then I'm going to come back. So Ahab's like, none of this is going to happen. And then Fedallah drops the kicker. Hemp is the only thing that can kill you. So, people, murderers and such, people who were executed at this time were hung. So what they do is they take a rope made out of hemp, because hemp is what you made ropes out of then. Took the rope made out of hemp, hung them. So Ahab is like, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a thief. I'm not any of those things that get you hung. So I'm not going to die because, Fedallah says that only hemp can kill me. And so Ahab takes that as he's going to be hung. And he's like, I've done nothing that, will get me hung. Now, people have been hung for things that they didn't do or have been hung for bad reasons. But Ahab didn't consider that. There's also kind of the story of Baldur in Norse mythology. So Baldur was the son of Odin and Freya, I believe. And his mother was like overprotective of him. So she went around to everything in creation and said, promise not to hurt my son. Promise not to hurt my son. Promise not to hurt my son. But she forgot to ask mistletoe. Because mistletoe was just this, it's this weed that kind of grows on trees. So it's this parasitic vine. And it's like, who cares mistletoe? Mistletoe can't hurt anybody. Never mind, it's toxic. But got promises from everything, rocks, trees, everything, not to hurt. And so the Norse gods did this thing where they would just throw things at Baldur because it's like, he can't be hurt by anything. Throw a sword. Metal promised it wouldn't hurt him. Throw a rock. Rocks promised they wouldn't hurt him. Throw a stick. Sticks promised. Throw a fish. Throw a goat. Throw an ox. All of these things. It's like nothing worked. Thor, throw the hammer. Throw the hammer. Nothing happens. So Loki, mischief maker, makes a dart out of mistletoe. Kills him. Everyone's like, what? So anyway, there's that. So, maybe he's going to choke on a rope or something. Maybe he's going to choke on a rope or something and doesn't expect it. Maybe he's going to OD on pot because, pot, marijuana comes from the hemp plant. So, maybe he's going to be the one person in a quadrillion no. It's entirely possible to OD on marijuana, but it's very unlikely. But, he's going to be killed by hemp, and he just doesn't see how that's going to happen. But, so maybe these prophecies are true. Maybe they're false. Maybe they're true in unexpected ways like the mistletoe. We will find out.